I'll start with the session for backup and disaster recovery. So we have talked about resources in Azure for the last couple of weeks and months, and we have talked about virtual machines, we have talked about databases, we have talked about some other resources that we have in Azure Cloud. But one of the things I want us to look at mainly here is called backup and disaster recovery. In short form, it's called DR. I know you have heard about it. So what about disaster recovery? So let me just explain what it really means in a tech format. So in this thing, in the cloud, you can create resources, understand, and they can give you SLA, meaning that your services will be available 99.9%, you understand. But sometimes some unpredicted situations can happen that can cause a downtime. So when you have a downtime, because of that, should your customers suffer because of you having a downtime? So for instance, the war that just went through some weeks ago within two countries, and while the war was going on, I think they hit one of the data centers of one of the cloud services due to the process of the conflicts that was happening. And the thing affected the people that have their services, their virtual machines, and your resources running in that data center. So if they don't have backup or disaster recovery in place, by now, everything that they have in the cloud is gone. Please, you get the concept? That is the importance of backup and disaster recovery. Anything can happen. There can be an earthquake, it can be a flooding in the region, there can be a power outage, anything can just happen, you understand? But what is your backup plan for your resources in the cloud? That's why we are having backup and disaster recovery conversation today. Now, number one, what does data recovery really solves? Data recovery solves the issue of data loss, accidental deletion, and ransomware. Let me just explain what those one does. Data loss means that sometimes some particular data can just get missing, and it's customers' data, and it's of high priority. You must quote and unquote, you must get that data back. If you don't have any backup in place, the data is gone for life. Same thing, accidental deletion. I remember a particular situation I was aware of was one person sent an SQL query to the database administrator to run. And while they were running the query, they forgot to put the where statement in that query before they run the query. And the thing like altered every column and every rows in that table in the database. You understand? So that situation, it occurred as an accident, kind of. But come to look at it, it's already gone. And database doesn't have, I think I explained this in last time, that database doesn't have something they call Control Z, that you have your Microsoft Word and Excel and all those stuff. No, database don't have it. Once you have made any update, the update is permanent. There's nothing like Control Z, except you have a backup in place. Also, ransomware. When it comes to ransomware, I know we can go online and read about ransomware. It's just like when your resources is being hacked and the hackers are using it as a point to get funds from you before they can release your resources. That's what this ransomware actually means. So now I want to talk about key notes I want us to see in this thing. We have backup, we have replication, and we have high availability. So backup is what I just explained, that helps you to solve the issue of data loss, accidental deletion, and ransomware. You understand? Backup does that one for you. Now, in the place of replication means that when I was talking about storage account, I talked about something about geo redundancy. You understand? And I talked about LRS, ZRS, zone redundancy, and DRS. So one thing that those things mean is that replication. You understand? Meaning that you have a resource and you have your data in one resource. How many places is your data being replicated in? So if the data one is gone, they can still get your data in 2, 3, 4. Kind of, you understand? That is what replication means. That means your particular data is being replicated in other zones or other region. So you can be able to access them if you're having an outage in one particular place. High availability. High availability is what I talked about when I was talking about virtual machine in one of our classes. You can go back to the videos. I talked about VMSS, and I talked about virtual machine scale set. Yeah, I talked about I know that one's about replication. That's a same virtual machine but can scale. Also, high availability means that your virtual machine is the uptime of the virtual machine is higher than the average uptime, meaning that your resource in the cloud has a high availability, meaning that even though there is a downtime or any other thing, your own resource is always available. So that's what high availability really talks to. Now, I want us to talk about two things, two components of backup. Number one, for virtual machines and so on, we have something called recovery service vault. Recovery service vault. So let me show you what that recovery service vault. Let me just give you a demo of recovery service vault means. You understand? Let me go to my virtual machine. I have a virtual machine here. The virtual machine is called Dev. This is the virtual machine. I want this virtual machine to always be to be backed up. You understand? In situations whereby I don't want it to, when maybe mistakenly somebody comes here and deletes the virtual machine, I want to be able to recover the virtual machine back with all my files, documents, and everything that's on the virtual machine. It's very easy. The only thing you do majorly, yeah, just go to your right and the blade, and you scale down and you see backup. Use it backup. So I'll talk about this backup here now while it loads. Backup. So backup of virtual machine, how does it really work? Virtual machine backup is just something like this. You can create a virtual machine recovery service vault. Look at this thing. Recovery service vault. Recovery service vault is what is used to take backup of virtual machines. You understand? Just search for recovery service vault and it's going to bring it out for you. Guess it. But in this situation, we want to see how we can create a new one. You can say, okay, I'm creating a new recovery service vault, or I have an existing recovery service vault, any one of it. But now I'm creating a new one. What is the name of the recovery service vault? Yeah, this is the name I want to give to it for the demo. Resource group, same resource group. Now, another thing again I want us to look at is the policy, backup policy. Backup policy means that what are the requirements before a backup can occur on a particular resource? What are the policies driving a backup to occur on a particular resource? For instance, you have a virtual machine. I want it to be backed up every Sunday, or I want it to be backed up every Wednesday by 2 p.m. I want a backup of my resource. Or I'm saying that every Friday by 12 in the night, back up my virtual machine. That is what is called a policy. How I want my backup to be done. Now, you can say, okay, the policy type, is it an enhanced policy or a standard policy? You understand? An enhanced policy means that multiple backups per day, up to 30 backup operational retention, and these are the parameters for it, for the backup. Now, for standard says that no, the backup is always done only once in a day, up to 5 days operational retention. That is the type of policy subtype you already will have. And now, backup policy. I just talked about it. You can edit your backup policy and say that, okay, my backup will occur every day by, let me say, my backup will occur every day by 12 a.m. 12 a.m. in the night, Central Time. The retention days that how many days should that backup live? That is what retention days actually mean. Now, the retention range, you can say retention of weekly backup to be configured. Like I want to make another kind of retention. Like if I'm backing up per week, the one that I back up per week should live for how many days? The one that I back up for monthly should live how many days? And the one that I back up for yearly backup should live how many days? So that is what we call backup policy. You understand? The next thing again is that Azure Backup Resource Group optional. This one is just kind of optional. So you can ignore this. So this is what we call a backup policy. A backup policy. Okay, and after that, you can scroll down. You can see policy details is called the backup is going to occur every day at this particular time. The instant restore that is the retention date of 2 days of daily backup. Retain backup taken every day at blah 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 at for 30 days. That's my retention policy. The disks where the disk that is being backed up. When I talk about virtual machine, I said that virtual machine has something called a disk. The hard drive of the virtual machine is the one that is being backed up. Please note, when you are backing up a virtual machine, what is being backed up is the hard drive, not the hardware. Please, do you understand? The hard drive is one that is being backed up, not the hardware. Good. So it's going to back up the files that you have in your hard drive. Okay, this virtual machine, for instance, has only one disk. So I've already selected the disk. Include future disks and blah 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 blah. And after that, I enable my backup. Do you understand? That's how backup of virtual machine occurs. Next thing I want us to look at again is called disaster recovery. Disaster recovery. So let's wait while it loads. Sorry, I don't think it, okay. So disaster recovery. So I may not be able to work on this now because the virtual machine must be in a running state, and I will intentionally put the virtual machine down. But this is how disaster recovery kind of work. You follow the same parameters like you followed for the backup, and you create your disaster recovery processes. The next one again I want us to look at is restore point. So restore point means that I have a backup. I have my my backup has already backed up, like it has backed up my virtual machine for the past 1 month, and I need to get a particular backup. Let me give it, let's say the backup that was done last month on the 15th. I want to get the backup of that on the 15th of last month. I can come to this restore point, look for that backup that was done, click on it, and I will create a restore. Creating a restore means that it will create a new virtual machine for me with that backup of on the 15th of last month. It will restore it as a new virtual machine. That is what this restore point literally means. I think we get it to this aspect. So now backup can be done for several resources in Azure. It can be done for your virtual machine, which I just did a demo for. It can be done for your SQL server. SQL server. That's your SQL database server. This is what I mean by SQL database server. So when you open a virtual machine, SQL logical server. Okay. So we have a logical server here. That's the server for the database. We can go down here. You can just go down here or search for backup. You can see it. Available backups. If you want to restore that backup or want to restore a particular database, you see the last backup that was done for this database, and this server, it was done on this particular date. I can restore this backup, meaning that maybe this particular database is already corrupted. I can just come to this my backup and click on restore, or drop this database and come back to restore it. It's going to go back to create the database back to this particular date. What is on the database by this particular date is what will be there once I restore it. Please, do you understand? So that's how backup of resources in Azure actually work. And we talked about retention policy also, kind of last time. So let's get into it now. So one thing again I want to show you in this backup is that okay, so one other thing again I want us to look at when it comes to backup is that when you create a backup of a virtual machine or a database server, you can restore that database server or that virtual machine to another region. Please, do you understand what I just said? Now I made a backup of my virtual machine is running in East US 2. I created a backup of that virtual machine. I want to restore that to my virtual machine. I can restore it to West US from the backup. I can create a new virtual machine, pick the data and restore it to another region. Please, that's on that thing I want us to note about backup also. Now, when we want to talk generally about disaster recovery. So disaster recovery is just something like just like our backup, which I just explained. It's just like when you have resources in Azure, the way your resources are running every day. I'm talking about resources that have sensitive data in them. Once you have virtual machine that has sensitive data in it, it is advisable you have a plan for disaster recovery. We call it DR. Meaning that your virtual machine or your server is being backed up somewhere else in another region every day. For instance, we live presently in a location in Nigeria. You get it? We have a data center in Nigeria, but our organization is spread across the world. Now, when we are closed for the day, it is expected that because of we have things and sensitive data that are highly important to us and our customer in our servers, it is ideal we back up our virtual machine or our server every day to another region. We can call that region country X. Meaning that if we have any issues with our own server in our particular region, Nigeria, we can immediately plug our applications that see our resources are down in country Nigeria. You can now connect to country X. That is where our disaster recovery is. When our customers are logging in, our customers should not be seeing error. Our customers will be seeing that our services is running while we are still maintaining and trying to bring back up our data center or our servers in Nigeria. That is what disaster recovery actually does for us. And it is highly important that it's a fallback plan, or we call it a failover plan. A fallback plan or a failover plan. So that if anything happens to our particular main primary server or primary region, we can immediately switch to our secondary or temporary region while we try to resolve our primary region issues. So that is the importance of disaster recovery. Please, let's note it down. Disaster recovery. I'm going to send a link for disaster recovery to the group chat so we can be able to read it toe and toe. So please, let's ensure that. Let me give you an example of that disaster recovery while I was talking about. So look at, we are having a front end application in our DevOps bootcamp. Let's say our front end application is connecting to a database, and that database is in Nigeria. So if that database is having issue, if that database begin to have issue, it is best before our customers begin to complain, let's connect our application to our disaster recovery or backup region. So the application will be working fine, everything will be working fine. Nevertheless, our primary region is still down, and we are trying to bring it back up. So that is what disaster recovery literally does for us as engineers. Anybody with any question because of our time? Anybody with any question as regards to disaster recovery?
Okay. One question, sir, which is very practical. Okay. So it means if you are trying to back up, based on if you are trying to back up, should we do more of a regional or zonal backup than just the simple maybe database backup or something? I don't know, because I heard due to the war now in Iran, a region, a data center was destroyed, kind of. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. So due to the war in Iran, I heard the data center in Bahrain or somewhere was destroyed. So does it mean now that people that are using only that region, every of their documents has been lost, that can't be recovered because they didn't back up in another region?
So now, using that example of the war in Iran, can you hear me?
Clearly, sir.
Good. If some people have their resources in Bahrain region, that is Middle East, and they don't have any backup or disaster recovery, immediately that region is down, their data is gone.
For permanently gone.
What is it?
Like permanently, their data is gone. It can't be in any way.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Their data is gone. Their virtual machine is gone. The disk in the virtual machine is gone. A lot of their things are gone. And the issues are not issues of Amazon. I hope you know. The issues are not issues of the data center, because the issues are beyond them. It's just like a natural disaster.
Okay, so
you understand? So you can't blame them for the issues that occurred, because they were not the target of the whole situation or the conflict. For instance, in a region whereby, like let's say like Japan, for instance, having a data center in Japan, and you know that is prone to tectonic activities.
Yeah.
Once there's an earthquake there and the data center is down, you can't blame. Who do you now blame?
You can't blame anybody because it's natural. That's natural.
That's natural. So you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So that is why it is ideal for engineers and architects to set up disaster recovery. You understand?
Yes, sir.
So for instance, if you have like for instance, we are using Bahrain, Middle East as our region, and we have a backup in somewhere like South America or somewhere like India, or have a backup like somewhere like Europe. When that issue occur, you understand, we can just point our applications, our front-end application to our what? To our backup applications. Backup. And immediately it will continue working like nothing happened. While we are still trying to solve what really happened in Middle East. So you understand? Our customers should not suffer for some things we don't
unforeseen circumstances.
Unforeseen circumstances. At least we should be able to create backup and recovery systems and disaster recovery systems in place, so anything can happen. I gave you an example of somebody running a database query that deleted all the data in the database. That one was not a war; it was just a negligence. You understand? You sent a query, and you know that when you look at SQL query, it has a where statement. Update this table where the column or the row is the ID is equals to this, and the person ran the query without putting the where statement, and the whole data in the database just wiped up. So if what happened immediately, no need of pushing front and back. We just went to the backup of that database for the day before that particular day, and we restored the database from the backup, connected our applications, and we are back. Then we cannot be sorting that other issue internally. You understand? So that's the importance of backup, disaster recovery. And to your last question that you asked, that where should the backup be done? Do we do a local disaster recovery or zone or region? I'll say let's look firstly from the importance of the data.
Okay.
You understand how valuable the data is? If it's like your data of how many shoes do I have in my house, I don't think it's highly important. You understand? Even though I'm to make a backup, I can use a local backup for it, because it's not, if they say the data is gone, I can go back to my shoe shelf and count how many shoes I'm going to update it in database, and that's all. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, when you are having a situation where you are having highly sensitive data, like you're having data of your country that involve the names, the age, the complexion, the activities of a lot of people. Like, let's say, for instance, 1 million data of different set of people. You can't be using that kind of data to play around. You can't tell those kind of people that you come and submitting their data again back to you. No. So that kind of data, you must put in place highly important processes like disaster recovery. So in a case whereby you're having a natural disaster or any kind of thing, you can be able to go back to your backup and your disaster recovery and restore those things back, and you are good to go. So it depends mainly on how sensitive those data are. And also, before I conclude on that, there's an act in the law, presently. I'm trying to remember the name. Something data authority. Data protection.
Okay.
So this data protection, they are virtually in every country of the world for now.
Okay.
You understand?
Yeah.
Data protection is highly sensitive, meaning that people are giving you their data, doesn't mean that you use their data and play with it around. You don't just mess up with their data. People are giving you their age, their names, their fingerprints data, their height data, and all those kind of sensitive data. And you are telling me that one person went to the database and go and update something anyhow, and you don't have any backup. They may sue the person in court.
Okay.
So do you understand what I'm trying to say? So, but when is that like data of how many shoes do I have or how many tires do my car have? I don't think those ones are important. You understand?
Yeah.
But data protection majorly looks at how people's personal information are being protected. That is the main thing. People's personal data should be highly protected. Like now in US, for instance, they have data protection for one of the major things I know about mainly there is all the major thing I know about okay. So one of the major things I know about there in US, for instance, they have data protection against their earth data. You understand? Meaning that like somebody earth history. Those kind of earth history data, you can't play with it. You understand? You can't play with that kind of data. Those data are highly sensitive. Like for instance, somebody is under a particular medication for the past how many months, and he's supposed to use that medication for maybe say 5 months or 7 months, and by month 6, you guys now misplace his data, and a new doctor now come in. The new doctor do not know how many months the medication has been. You can't play with all these kind of things. The person can sue the organization to court, and it's a big criminal case. So those little things that you look at when it comes to data protection and also backup and disaster recovery.
All right.
Okay. Any other question?
Okay. No other questions, sir. But one more question, sir. So if we were to imagine they are very important data, like we said, and at the same time, in all these things, we still look at cost at one point. So does it mean we'll still be backing up everything in another region? Won't it be costing us money? But just like you say, is it due to the importance of data? Sometimes cost might not matter.
Yes, sir. So it's either you bear the cost now or you pay the cost for damages. Do you understand what I mean?
Okay, sir. Yes, sir. Okay,
so
very good.
It's better you bear the cost now and be paying some particular amount of dollars per year for data disaster recovery than you should bear the cost for litigations, court cases, and paying people out of court. It's just best you just pay all these things for disaster recovery and avoid your name. Another thing again you should look at, it's not majorly about the money, it's about the brand image. You understand? How do people see your brand outside? For instance, imagine you have a bank account in a particular bank and it's your personal account. You submitted your details, like for instance, your BVN and all those things. And some days later, you begin to see somebody showing your BVN on newspaper and showing your personal details on newspaper because of one hacker attacked a particular organization and stole out a lot of people's data and showing it online. How would you feel around it? You never advise anybody else to use that kind of organization. So those are the little bit sensitive things. Brand image is even highly important than the money, so to speak. So those are some things, considerations that are put in place before we talk about disaster recovery, backup, protection, and so on. Okay. Thank you very much for this session. I will drop the assignment for this class on the group.